Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Today I'm in this 2008 Mercedes E280 CDI estate, or wagon if you're watching this in the US. Before I get into the video, make sure you check out my online course. I'll leave the link below. If you're thinking of getting into the used car business, or perhaps expanding your current used car business, then you really need to check it out. I've made nearly 100 videos which cover every single topic, from where to buy stock from, insurance, location, where to advertise, how to prep cars, and they're all on a very easy to use online portal. You can either watch every video or download the audio file and listen to it as an audiobook while you're on the go. So yeah, I'll leave the link below, so check it out. Anyway, back to the Mercedes. This is the W211 E-Class, which ran from 2002 all the way until 2009. It had a facelift in 2006, which gladly sorted out some electrical issues. The range started off with the very humble E200, all the way up to the I have more money than sense E500, which had a 5-litre V8, which was later improved to a 5.5-litre V8. There were even a couple of AMG models too, an E55 and then later an E63. If you've ever been to Berlin, the chances are you've been in one of these cars, because they're everywhere, painted in beige, and they're taxis. Most of them have probably got a 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine, which are very economical, but they lack any get up and go. A good compromise between performance and fuel economy is the 3-litre diesel V6. This is the E280 CDI, so under the bonnet is a 3-litre turbo diesel V6, which produces 190 horsepower. You could have also bought it as an E320 CDI, which increased the horsepower to about 220, so you got an extra 30 or so horsepower. They're basically the same engine though, so I imagine with a mild remap you'd get that sort of figure from this engine. I would describe this model though as adequate. It isn't breathtaking, but yeah, adequate's a good word. So if you put your foot down, for example, there's enough power there to get you out of trouble without losing your license. I do think this generation E-Class, especially the estate version, is a great looking car. It has a timeless quality to it, just looks elegant and stylish. The turning circle's excellent on this car too. I expected it to be like a Volvo V70, but in reality it's more like a London black cab. I should probably point out at this stage, if I were in the market for a large German estate car, I would buy a 530 diesel estate, without even considering anything else, but luckily we're not all the same. The E-Class Mercedes does have quite a lot going for it, especially if you find a high-spec model like this. This one's got sat-nav, front and rear parking sensors, keyless entry, keyless start, a power lift tailgate. It's also got quite a good feature. Because this car's got keyless entry, the key just has to be in your pocket. You don't actually have to put it into the ignition. So if you're emptying your bags of shopping out of the boot and you press the lock button on the tailgate, I'll show you now in this video, it automatically locks the car. So if you're carrying your bags of shopping back to your front door, you would just press that button and walk away from the car. One more thing to mention about the E-Class Mercedes estate is it's possibly one of the most middle-class cars of all time. I guarantee the first owner only shops at Waitrose. They bought the E-Class because they always buy Mercedes, obviously, but they bought the estate in particular because they've got a gîte in the Dordogne region, and all that extra room just comes in handy for all those trips back and forth. They probably dabble in antiques, and the diet consists of mainly red meat and Chablis. Anyway, putting that aside, it's a fantastically practical car, this. The boot space is huge. With the rear seats in place, it offers a mind-blowing 690 litres of space. With the seats folded flat, you get nearly 2,000 litres of space back there, which is about 5 litres short of what you get for an Antonov. You could have even bought this as a 7-seater. They offered a third row of seats which faced the opposite way, which you don't see too many of those, to be honest. I think they called it a family pack or something, but they are out there. There's also plenty of room up front. Visibility is very good. The A-pillars are nice and thin. There's plenty of room in the back, plenty of headroom, plenty of legroom, plenty of storage, cubby holes. Really is a great family car. It just feels very luxurious. I mean, this is now in its 13th year, and it's still a nice place to be. It's not cutting edge, but it doesn't feel dated either. Like I say, it's a bit timeless, really. It all feels refined and sophisticated. It's a very comfortable car too, more comfortable than a 5 Series anyway, although it doesn't handle as well, obviously. It does ride quite well though. The seats are nice and soft. You can imagine doing 300 or 400 miles in one sitting in this car and getting out and not feeling tired or exhausted. Performance wise, if you put your foot down, yeah, there's enough power there. Changes gear at about 4,000 RPM, and all of a sudden you're at the speed limit. So you just tap the cruise control. That's what I love about this era of Mercedes. Their cruise control is so easy to operate. It's just this little stalk here. You tap it once and that's it. I also love that when you're driving along in this, you look out over the long imposing bonnet and you can see the Mercedes bonnet ornament. That stick-up Mercedes badge has the ability to turn even the most ardent egalitarian into Audrey Forbes Hamilton. There are a couple of annoying things about the interior though. For example, the positioning of the seat controls. This one has electric seats. Now, they're not on the door card like most Mercedes of this era. They're not on the side of the seat like most other cars. No, they're on the front corner, which is exactly the last place you'd look. They're also not full electric, so you can adjust the backrest and the height and all that sort of stuff from those buttons. But if you want to go forward or backward, you have to use this lever here. In a Mercedes. I mean, really? Another thing, I think you know what's coming, don't you? The cup holder situation is dire. There aren't any, not a single one. That's something that wasn't immediately apparent because I just assumed it would have some until I went to Costa this morning. Ended up with a latte on my lap. I mean, can you imagine the first owner of this car driving through the Pays de la Loire region with a boot full of old tat that he's trying to pass off as antiques? You can't even stop for a cafe au lait. I mean, what is the world coming to? You could have bought this car with a manual gearbox, but I wouldn't advise it. They're always clunky and they always feel like an afterthought. Most people opted for the automatic. Now, early models came with a 5-speed automatic, which was excellent. That was later replaced with this 7-speed 7G Geartronic, I think they call it, which I don't like. I just think it feels clumsy and easily confused. Let me demonstrate something else to you about this gearbox that I don't like. As you're driving along and making good progress, as soon as you take your foot off the accelerator, it slows down quite dramatically. Watch this. It's like regen braking in an EV. I don't like it, it's weird. Until you get used to that, it can be quite disconcerting. So you're driving along with your foot on the accelerator. As soon as you take your foot off the accelerator to slow down, what you get is rapid retardation. I don't like that at all. And until you master that, it can be quite jerky. Anyway, the same is true of all 7-speed Mercedes autos that I've driven. Just a bit of a weird quirk. It handles alright though. It's not as sporty as a 5 Series BMW, but then it is more comfortable, so that's the trade-off you have to make. Reliability-wise, the engines and gearboxes are strong. The trouble with the early ones were everything in between. They suffered with a lot of electrical issues. It usually wasn't anything that would leave you stranded, but you'd often get some sort of annoying warning message. In 2006, when they launched the facelift, most of those were cured. So if you're thinking of buying one, I would look for a post-2006 model. Cars from 2006 also got more safety equipment as standard, and they also scored 5 stars on the Euro NCAP safety rating. They were fitted with a system called Pre-Safe, which was designed to help you survive an accident. If it sensed you were about to have an accident, it would close the windows, close the sunroof, and then activate the seatbelt pre-tensioners. How that works in a split second is beyond me, something I can't fathom, but that's what they say. All of the engines available were chain driven, so there are no belts to replace. If you service the car regularly, that will last the lifetime of the car. I know this particular engine can suffer from oil cooler leaks, so if you're looking for one, that's something to check for. As always, I'd recommend that you find a good Mercedes specialist and just stick with them. They've got all the computer gear and software and all that sort of stuff to plug in and diagnose any fault. It's often more cost effective to go straight to a specialist than go to just any old independent. Parts aren't massively expensive either, and they're readily available. Fuel-wise, they vary. The small petrols weren't bad. They're alright actually if you're just doing local trips. You'll probably get 24, 25 miles per gallon around town and maybe 38 miles per gallon on a motorway run. But they do feel a little bit underpowered for a car of this size and weight. If you plan on using this car for its intended purpose, i.e. driving cross-country, then you're best off going for the V6 diesel. That will do 28 miles per gallon around town and early to mid-40s on a run. You could have gone for a V6 petrol. Now that will do 22 miles per gallon around town and 32 miles per gallon on a motorway run. If you're considering a V8, then you can expect mid-teens in terms of miles per gallon. Used prices are all over the place. You can pick them up from as little as £1,500, but I would advise against that because you're just buying a problem. If you've got a £5,000 budget, then you're likely to get a decent one. Just watch out for rust on the early ones. Later models suffered less with that, but it was still a little bit of an issue, so look around the wheel arches and the tailgate in particular. I think that's it. So thanks once again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll leave the link below. Also, I'll leave the link below to my course, so do check that out if you're interested in getting into the used car business. And yeah, any questions or comments, let me know, and I'll do my best to get back to you. So yeah, cheers guys. I'll see you next time. And next up is another unusual little quirk. If you press this button down here, it reveals a secret compartment in your Mercedes wagon. No, I'm not making this up. Definitely an interesting quirk on this car.